Welcome to Small Practice Support Information Session number 33. In this Law Society of Ireland recording, Claire Ferner of Law Firm Marketing Club talks to Justin Purcell about marketing tips for law firms.
Get started. So it's a real pleasure to introduce you to Claire Fanner from the Law Firm Marketing Club. Claire has previously worked as a marketing director for two separate law firms and then set up the Find, Get, Grow and more recently the Law Firm Marketing Club. So Claire, you're very welcome and thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks, Justin, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to your people and your members and so on. So I'm going to whiz through some slides that I've prepared for you. What Justin asked me to do was kind of come here today with some sort of top tips around what law firms need to be doing right now as far as their marketing is concerned. And I've kind of given it away on my first slide because actually everything comes back to the 2 points in white underneath the heading, which is about keeping things simple and staying relevant. Now, clearly without context, you may not understand the specifics behind that. So I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. What am I going to cover today? I'm going to very quickly remind ourselves of what marketing is. And you might think, Claire, we already know that. Why are you doing that? But hopefully that will become clear when I get there. I'm going to talk a little bit about how the pandemic has changed things. Going to talk a bit more about what clients want and then some specifics. What are the 5 things every law firm should be doing and how can law firms stay relevant? And then if I may, I'm just going to share some of our upcoming events. One of the things I often forget, and so I've put a slide in here today to make sure I don't forget, is to introduce myself properly. And Justin's actually done a pretty good job of giving the headlines. So my background is I used to be a marketing director at 2 different regional law firms in the south of England. I've spent over 30 years as a marketing and BD professional, so I know I don't look old enough, but it is so. Specifically in the legal sector, I've been in the legal sector for 14 years. I was in financial services before that, and I currently work with something in the region of 30 plus law firms in a myriad of ways. So I became a consultant, kind of doing what a law firm marketing director would do, but on a freelance basis, if you like, for the last 4 years. So that could be anything from interim marketing director support on a part-time basis to project type things. So for example, I help law firms with positioning projects, with strategies, with marketing plans and the such like. But at the back end of last year, I created and established the Law Firm Marketing Club. And the Law Firm Marketing Club is basically a conduit and a platform to bring law firms together, to provide resources, articles, events, access to experts, and to collaborate. And one of the things we do is a number of webinars and events. We create campaign and messaging packs and so on. But we've also done some research, and some of that research I'm going to share with you today because it's really pertinent to some of the key points I'm going to make. So, and yes, somebody said, will I make my slides available? Absolutely, I'll share those with you, Justin, to share as appropriate. So if you're scribbling like crazy, just scribble the extra bits, not the stuff on the slides, because you'll get a copy of them. So that's a little bit about me. It's a little bit about the Law Firm Marketing Club. I said I'd go back to basics and talk about what is marketing. And it's too easy for us these days to sometimes get lost in the mechanics of the activities we're doing, the adverts we're creating, the latest best practice in, for example, digital marketing. And we sometimes lose track of what I call the basics. And marketing is and always should be starting with the customer, or for most of us, we tend to refer to them as clients, whether you call them a customer or a client. Marketing is all about putting them front and center, understanding what they need and want, and then providing access to support them with their needs and wants. So that's why I put this slide in here, because quite often we forget that it's the customers we need to be thinking of first in shaping what we do and how we do it. And this provides a good platform to what I'm going to go on and talk about now. So with that sort of covered, I'm going to talk a little bit about how has the pandemic changed things. And bit of a tongue-in-cheek cartoon here around in case of emergency break glass, and all it says is cut marketing budget. I'm going to make reference to this a little bit later, because actually this is exactly what an awful lot of businesses, not just law firms, a lot of businesses did last March when the pandemic properly hit and the impact started to be felt. And actually that's the wrong thing. That is not what any business needed to do, let alone law firms. So what has the pandemic changed? It's changed so much, mainly around our well-being and how we feel as customers. Now, remember, our start point for marketing is putting the customers front and center. So our customers have never felt so scared, so vulnerable, so emotional. And they've always been quite emotional when it comes to legal services, and I'm going to talk a bit about that. But right now, their very well-being is being threatened. So whether that's their health or their own or those of their loved ones, their finances, but they are in a very difficult place. They have never needed their professional advisors to show up more than right now. So it has changed how customers perceive us. It has changed expectations from customers, from clients. Emotions are heightened, as I've said. Their engagement with technology has been massive. So suddenly how we communicate with people has clearly changed massively. We can only meet each other through screens, and we're all becoming reasonably adept at meeting each other and chatting through screens, but it's not the same as meeting somebody in flesh, or reading that body language, or having a coffee, or having that anecdotal conversation. But we have got to use technology, so it's changed that, and we've become quite good at using technology. But our expectations as clients and as customers and as consumers has also changed. We need things more immediately, and we're used to getting things more immediately. I don't know about anyone else, but Amazon is worn a path to my door. There's a nice little tread mark there. Most days I've got something arriving from Amazon or from other delivery services, because that's the way we're getting stuff. But if I need something, I'm used to being able to go online, pick up the phone and get hold of somebody immediately, and to arrange whatever that thing is that I need pretty quickly. So expectations have changed. And yet, sitting underneath all of this, nothing has changed when it comes to marketing. The fundamentals and the basics are still the fundamentals and the basics. Put your customer front and center. Think about what they need and want. Think about what you offer and how that relates to them, and show up. Think about the different channels open to us. We need to adapt which channels we use, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the fundamentals of marketing has not changed. So covering that off. So I did some research last year, and I'm going to just share a couple of slides on that research, and I'm going to go through really quickly because I want to make sure we have time to chat at the end. But all of this research, you can grab a copy of the full report, which goes into much more detail than I'm going to go into today, on the website. So that's lawfirmmarketingclub.com. Check out the resources section and download a copy of the research. But the research asked over 600 people what they want, need and expect from law firms. And one of the questions we asked was around the emotions that they have when they deal with a law firm. And we all know that most legal services are a distress purchase. So you won't be surprised to hear that the predominant emotion that a client feels at the start of a matter and when dealing with a law firm is one of negativity. It's one of being angry or anxious or helpless, nervous, scared, stressed, vulnerable. But how many of us think of that in terms of the client experience that we provide, the service we provide, how and who we put on the end of the phone to answer that initial inquiry when somebody's phoning up in an anxious, scared, or whatever state? In answer to that question, it was a mix of both private clients and corporates. And in fact, that leads nicely to the next slide. And I do apologize, but I'm going to have to whiz through these. But the next slide actually breaks the emotions down a little bit by work type matter. So you can get a feel for the emotions for a property, a private client or a corporate or whatever matter. And clearly they vary. Clearly they do vary. What this slide says to you is two things. One, it says it supports that what I've just summarised. The predominant emotions are negative at the start of a matter. Good news is law firms are doing a pretty decent job of satisfying their clients' needs as far as emotions are concerned. So most clients are going away feeling more positive, with a more positive emotion at the end of their matter. But you'll see some obvious differences there. And, you know, not surprising, the emotion of a new family client is clearly more negative at the start of a matter than a corporate or commercial matter, which could be anything from the excitement of buying a business, selling a business, or some such matter. But again, some really interesting data here. And I think the key point I want to make is think about this in terms of the service you provide. And from a marketing perspective, think about how this data could inform your marketing communications, could inform the tone that you use and the language that you use in your articles, in your website copy, in your social media posts. If you're using smart visuals with your brand on social media, think about the message they're conveying and relate it to the emotions your clients are feeling. If they're angry, if they're anxious, use language to basically acknowledge that and to say, we will help you with that. We understand you're anxious. We understand you're stressed. We understand this is a difficult time. We will help you overcome that. We will do this with a minimum of fuss. Is that sort of tone, it's that sort of language that we need to be conveying. What do clients want from a law firm? There's no surprises in here. So this is, the question was asked around things like price, reputation, technical ability, and we asked people to rank their top three. And there's 10 things in front of you. Understanding all my issues at the top, keeping to timescales at the bottom. Actually, everything on this list is important, because actually we need to do all of these things to look after our clients. They take it as done, if you like, that you can do the job. If you say you're a family lawyer, if you say you're a corporate lawyer, they expect you to be experienced and know how to help them. But how you deliver that service and how you manage their expectations is key. And then what do they want in terms of, or what do they expect in terms of things like contact details? A lot of law firms have not historically, I think they're getting better at it, but a lot of law firms have not historically provided direct contact details of their lawyer. Well, why not? It's actually really critical, really important to a client. And this isn't about getting in the way of lawyers being productive. It's about managing client expectations. And you can be sure that if you're not offering direct contact details, and I'm just picking on one of the examples in front of you, if you're not offering it and a law firm down the road is, well, they're going to go and pick that other law firm over you in the fullness of time. So all of this data, take a look at it, think about it, and think about what you need to change as far as your marketing is concerned and as far as your service is concerned. There's some great opportunities in here. I mean, access to your lawyer at weekends and access to your lawyer in the evening, you'll be delighted to see that actually that's not a core requirement of clients. But actually over a third, or about a third, say it is important and they would expect it. So is there an opportunity there for you to think about how you can support clients in what we all term as out of hours? And there's a few opportunities in this that you can derive from looking at this data and actually taking actions. And the final slide on this research that I'm going to share today is around what clients want and what they get as far as their communications are concerned. And what I just want to highlight on this one is the not getting contacted by law firms. Actually, only 30% of clients don't want to hear from us at the completion of a matter, which means 70% do. 70% do want us to contact them when there's a renewal date, or to let them know other ways we can help them, or invite them in to review their legal position, etc., etc. I'll come back to that question in a minute. Sorry, I've seen the comment on the chat. So there's an opportunity here, if you're not already engaging with your clients and speaking to them and keeping in contact with them. you need to think about putting something in place to do that. And I know it's not straightforward. I know there's some practical implications. It's about access to data. It's about confidentiality. It's about permissions, but all of that is doable. So let's find ways to look after our clients, not reasons not to. So that was a whistle-stop tour of some data. 5 things every law firm should do. No surprises here, really, but top of the list, don't stop marketing. You'd expect me to say that. I'm a marketer. You do need to rethink what you're going to do. So I think what this last year has shown us is we need to be agile, we need to be adaptable, we need to be able to change. If you just plow on and do what you've always done, it won't work. The market has moved on, clients' expectations have moved on. So don't stop marketing, but constantly reevaluate. And I've got an example that I want to share with you. And that is of law firm A and law firm B. And this is first-hand knowledge because it's law firms that I've been working with, one of which I've only just started working with. Law firm A, really, headlines are they're a relatively small regional firm. They took a really simple approach last March, and that was that they stopped a lot of the other activities they were doing. They were planning all sorts of sponsorships, events. They were about to reposition themselves. They were even looking at investing in a new website. That all went on hold. And what they did do was they put in place bi-weekly adverts in their local press. They've got 2 locations, so that was 2 local publications. They upped the amount of content they were creating for their website and digital channels. They continued to invest in PR, so somebody to help them get some media coverage. They became very active in their social media, mainly on LinkedIn and Facebook. They offered some discounts for key workers. They made donations to the NHS, and they kept in touch with their key clients and contacts. And the results are sort of pretty good. They generated at least £100,000 worth of new income. This is since last March. This was mainly in the private client area, and I say at least 100,000. We stopped tracking it specifically as far as the data I've got in about October last year. So more income has come in. At least 30 new clients. They've re-engaged with lots of their existing clients. They've donated over £5,000 to the NHS. They won a national award because of their campaign and what they did. They've seen massive increase in their web traffic, social media impressions, followers, leads. They've got much more coverage via PR. Community-wise, they've had anecdotal feedback from people saying, "Wow, you've been busy. We've seen you everywhere." And despite it being a tough year, they're a full-service law firm, so certain parts of the business took a hit. They were only 10% down on their target fee income for the year at the end of 2020. Law firm B didn't do any of that. They stopped their marketing. They've taken a massive hit on website traffic, on social media, on leads, on followers, etc., etc., etc. And they ended the year 25% down on fee income. Now, it's not just because of marketing. I get that. There's some bigger factors. They're not identical firms. But a big chunk of the success of law firm A was down to the fact that they stayed visible and they kept things simple and they adapted and they adjusted. A big reason why law firm B took a bigger hit is because they stopped, they panicked, and they didn't do the fundamentals. So please, don't ever stop marketing. Just have a rethink from time to time as the market adjusts. Do look after your existing clients. They already know, like, and trust you. And do ask your clients what they want. Really, really important. And obviously I've shared the data from the research I conducted. And do make sure you stay visible, because people do notice. It is really important. And stay relevant. And by that, I'm talking about a couple of different things on staying relevant. And that is, gauge the mood, gauge the tone, make sure you're staying relevant for now, not what the situation was last year, what the situation might be in a year. Make sure you're staying relevant as far as your clients' needs and wants are concerned. You're identifying the topics they need help with. When you're creating content, always ask yourselves, is this helpful? How is this going to help my client? So don't just write content blindly. Think about how it's going to help people. Use as many channels as you have available to you that are practical to get your message out. Be sensitive, think about your language and tone, and basically show up for your clients. Be there. They need us more than ever right now. But whatever you do, don't step over that line, be too pushy, be too salesy, promote or sell specific products and services in an outright salesy way. I'm not saying you can't promote your different topics. You can, just be smart about it. Talk about how you can help people, inform and educate them rather than you should do this. And today there has been the perfect example of how to get it wrong. And that is been all over the news today. Ryanair's Jab and Go advert, very catchy, very eye-catching. Not the first time this particular business has perhaps overstepped and been in the press for the wrong reasons, but people right now, remembering the emotional state and remembering everything everyone's going through, they're not as forgiving of businesses that don't do things right and get things wrong. So we can't afford to be insensitive. We can't afford to be opportunistic. We need to just keep that balance. So have a educate, inform, is this helpful approach to your marketing and your content, and you won't go far wrong. That was a real whistle stop through the slides. Slide there just to finish on screen before we stop sharing and go to questions. One of the things I mentioned the Law Firm Marketing Club does is a number of webinars and events. Do check out our event schedule on the website. We've got lots coming up, and it's all about helping law firms, what I put it in simple terms, do better marketing, and that's about getting more clients, getting more fees, reducing costs, having access to better resources and facilities to help you do your job. And that's kind of me and the slides I prepared for you.
That's great, Claire. Thank you very much. So if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask us on the chat, maybe now's a really good time to send them into us. But I suppose for small practices, they may say, there's a lot of tools out there, marketing tools and social media tools, etc. Is there any, like, obviously everybody wants just tell me one thing I need to do and that'll solve all my problems. How do I kind of establish a sort of a marketing plan or get my head around that whole what advice and what tools do you think are more effective than others if you had to rank them?
Yeah. Okay. So
for
remembering one of the, we're trying to keep things simple and trying to keep highly visible. And this is something any firm of any size can do. You don't need to be a large firm to be visible. So, LinkedIn, Facebook are the two obvious social media platforms. Yes, there's Instagram. Yes, there's Twitter. But if time is of the essence, if resources are limited, focus on LinkedIn and Facebook in particular. And then in terms of showing up, you try and be visually strong and use powerful sort of imagery. There's a wonderful tool, if you're not already using it, called Canva. Canva.com is a software package online. You can get a free version of it. It enables you to create strong images and collateral. So you can create adverts, social media posts, you can use your brand colors, it's got images you can use, it's even got templates, so it makes your job really, really easy. You've just got to have the content, I suppose, to plug into it. But Canva.com, highly recommend. The free version lets you do quite a lot of that stuff and has quite a few tools. If you pay, I think it's about £10 a month, not sure what that is in euros. I think you're Euro speak over there, aren't you? It's about the equivalent of about £10 a month. Would give you what they call a pro version, which gives you a few extra features, but check it out if you haven't already. And then the other thing, I think one of the things most people say is, yeah, but I haven't got time, Claire. It's all very well telling me I need to post on social media. I've got a busy day job. When am I meant to do that? You can use some of the social media posting tools that are available. So for example, either Hootsuite or Calendly can help you create a schedule of posts. So you could sit down and in half an hour, you could come up with, for example, 10 headlines or points that you want to talk about to link back to, for example, content on your website or to share other people's content. Create a program that says, right, I'm going to do these 3 posts this week, next week these 3, the week after these 3. And then you can actually plug them into software like either Hootsuite or Calendly, and then you can forget about it. So it doesn't have to become a daily job. So a couple of sort of quick wins, if you like.
And do you think that the principal practitioner should be generating this content and be responsible for it, or do you think that they should be outsourcing it, or any tips around that type? It would seem that you're better.
There's a host of places you can buy content in from. If you're buying content in, then it's not going to be unique to you. If you have even half an hour to spare a week where you could sit down and just think about, remembering what I was saying earlier about what do clients want, what are the key topics, how can you help them? If you just took half an hour a week to kind of jot down a couple of bullet points around what are the key things that I am helping clients with right now, that are their big topics that are causing them concern, and just, it doesn't need, you don't need to spend hours creating content. A couple of sentences to say, you know, I'm helping a number of clients at the moment on issues such as these are the key points people need to bear in mind. Promote, you know, post. So it doesn't need to be difficult. I think, yes, buying content if you would struggle with time. Even better if you do have time, create it yourself. There's lots of people out there that can, as I say, can help you with that. But most importantly is be visible. So do show up, find a way to make it work for you. And if you're not currently doing it, it will feel daunting. It'll feel like this big mountain, and you know, how on earth do I climb this big mountain? Trust me, if you just do that half an hour a week and capture some bullet points and start small, you'll very quickly get into a routine and very quickly find that it doesn't have to be that time consuming. For me, social media is part of my day. It's not even on my to-do list now. It's part of my, you know, I've just finished one job, I'm grabbing a cup of coffee, I'll spend 5 minutes seeing what's on LinkedIn, and I'll post comments on what other people are saying. I'll post my own posts, and then I'll move on to my next job. But to get there, you need to start with a structure, you need to get comfortable. But yeah, just find 30 minutes, write those bullet points of how am I helping clients? What are the things clients are asking me? Because that's what you need to be posting about.
Brilliant, brilliant. And question there, virtual advertising, is it better than newspaper advertising, or do you have any views on that?
Yeah, better is a tough word. They both have a place. Right now, the community style publications, so I'm thinking about towns or less so cities, towns, villages that have, for example, a village or a town newspaper, weekly something. They've actually seen their readership go up significantly because we're all in lockdown, we're all stuck at home, we're not out and about as much as normal, and we all want to consume what's going on in our neighbourhoods, what's going on in our community. So right now you can get some pretty decent deals to get some print advertising, and you can get some pretty good profile from it. But without a doubt, virtual social media, you know, you don't have to pay anything, you just need to spend a bit of time, and you can easily identify communities that you can link up with through some of these platforms, and you can get your message out to a massive audience with, as I say, no cost other than a bit of time.
Sure, and that kind of goes back to a question there. So as the marketeer, difficulty I have is I don't meet with the clients, so I'm very reliant on solicitors for the content. Any workaround? Well, sounds like,
yeah, well, couple of workarounds as the marketer. What are other law firms doing? You know, what are they talking about? So don't be afraid to steal ideas from others. Don't copy, but you know, if they're talking about a topic, then there's a fair chance it's topical, it's relevant. Then you can post your own content and take on it. So look at what other people are doing. If you're not already, join forces with other marketers from other law firms. So collaborate, maybe have a regular get together on what are the key issues, what are the key things you're finding clients need help with, and try and get access to, if nothing else, you should be able to get a feel for what matters are coming into the business. And that will give you an indication of the areas of law that are currently topical or of particular interest to clients. Clearly, ultimately, you need solicitors, lawyers to provide some input as well.
Sure. There's just, we're coming to the end of our session, but there was two questions that are sort of similar. How do I get standout, you know, in a marketplace if I'm doing all of these things and providing helpful articles? Is particularly on LinkedIn, where there's a lot of competing other content. what's the best way of getting standout? Is it to be controversial, or is it what do you think?
Yeah, you don't need to be controversial. I mean, if you want to be, that will certainly achieve some things, but it will also potentially alienate some people. So whatever tone, whatever language, whatever messaging, make sure it ties in with your brand ethos and your values. Don't deviate, be consistent. Using Canva is one visual way of getting standout, because you can make highly visual messages and brand and color. So that's one thing. But the actual content itself, and then sharing it, you need to think about which platforms, who you're connected with. If you are active on, for example, LinkedIn, and you have a good number of contacts, that will give you a certain amount of coverage. But actually, you need to look at extending your reach, so growing your contacts and connections. You need to look at what groups there are through the social media channels. You need to be doing things like tagging people and using hashtags. And that's a whole nother topic. And I don't know if you've covered it, Justin, or got plans to, but social media and how to get engagement. There's a whole host of things you can do. So standout is be true to yourself. Make sure you've got something visually compelling. Clearly make sure you've got the right content sitting behind it. And then use all the tricks of the trade, if you like, through the social channels to extend your reach as far as possible.
Listen, Claire, it's been fascinating. I know there's a huge amount more we could talk about, but let me just inform people we're coming to the end of the session. We will send the slides out later in the week with a recording of the session. All of our sessions are available on the Law Society's Business Hub support webinars, and some of our up and coming sessions will be developing a paperless office next week, an overview of the annual survey of the law firms in Ireland with Smith & Williams, and then Bank of Ireland finance schemes that are available to Law Society members there on the 24th of February. So listen, Claire, a huge thank you for taking the time and to share your undoubted knowledge and vast experience in this area. So thank you very much, and we're very lucky to have had you today. So thank you.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you. And Slán, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.